one vital fact I would like to submit.
Hello, my friends. Hope everyone is doing well on this wonderful Tuesday night. Hopefully staying safe and sane. Well, as always, it's an honor to welcome you all to the Poiema Studio podcast. My name is AJ, one half of this wonderful dynamic duo. And before we get this night started, let me introduce you to my other amazing half, Gabby.
Thank you, AJ. It's a pleasure. I got a smile on my face because it was a wonderful start tonight. But yeah, welcome to Poiema Studio Podcast Tuesday night. And we have a special guest that I can't wait to share his wonderful story with you guys. So I want to introduce Gil to our audience. Gil, say hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me, guys. It's a real honor being here.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you know, the Poiema Studio Podcast is a podcast that brings awareness to mental health and suicide prevention, and we do a lot of our focus on youth. So the reason why I decided to invite you is we met a few years ago here in Elgin, and we worked together at the Safe and Healthy Elgin Coalition, and I was able to see the passion that you have working with youth. So I'm going to bring Gil so he could share his story, what got him so passionate about working with the youth, what made Gil who he is. So thank you for accepting this invitation, and we're so excited to hear from you what inspired you to work with the youth. I think it's important to have people that are supportive for the youth and are looking to bridge the gaps in the communities, like you have been doing in Elgin, it was an honor working with you. I always say you were like my mentor. You helped me see a lot of the need in the youth in Elgin, and I am very grateful for that. So.
Well, it's a big task, obviously. I mean, I started working for the Coalition for Safe and Healthy Elgin about 3 years ago, and before then, I worked for the city for a number of years, and I guess even with all the work when I was with the city and all the groups that we were involved with, ultimately we realized that the youth of Elgin in particular are always kind of there. They're the working roof of what we're doing and why we do so much. Whether it's something celebratory like a concert or a festival, we still have other issues that need to be addressed. So I think I've always kind of been, my wife always says she feels like I'm like her fourth kid because I'm just, the other day I told her a joke and she just looks, I thought it was a funny joke. And she looked at me and she goes, "Oh my God, I married a 14-year-old. And I mean, just, because it gets goofy. And so I've always felt like, a lot of energy when it comes to being with youth and working with them. And I naturally have a lot of energy, which is one of the reasons I don't really drink coffee, because I'm high strung already. I'd be bouncing off the ceilings otherwise. So I've always had kind of that passion and love for them. For whatever reason, I just gravitated. My nieces and nephews, we're just always playing hide and go seek, whatever, So it is it's just a lot of fun, and I get a lot of pleasure. There's such an authenticity and honesty that's there, and I appreciate that because I live and breathe in an adult world for so long. Having gone, I went to law school, right? There's nothing more adult than that, and the level of kind of face a subterfuge, you might say, that people have that hides their authenticity. It gets to be, it's hard, and I never liked pretense. And so much of that is so much a big part of adult life. So I love the honesty of that youth bring. And so with the coalition, we mostly work with middle and high school students. And when we're just trying to when I met you, we were in the middle of, I believe it was a town hall meeting that we had.
Yeah.
And
the Narcan training.
Oh, the Narcan training. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so after we met, and I loved your passion, of course. And I'm always looking for those people with kindred spirits that have kind of that same passion for kids. And as for me, I've always looked at youth and the issues that are affecting youth here in Elgin way beyond just like a singular issue, be it alcohol or marijuana. There's always issues of mental health, the connection between teenage pregnancy and the connection between violence. And there's these things don't exist in a vacuum. So I'm always looking to partner and collaborate with other people because they're all cogs in this wheel as we try to turn the tide and get on to a better life. So.
Exactly. I love that so much because it exactly starts with the youth, especially you said middle school and high school is what you work with. And those periods aren't necessarily who you're gonna be, but those are good. That's a start to where you get really molded into kind of who you were gonna start being, you know. So those years are very crucial. And then of course, what you were talking about drinking and alcohol, it's not the only problem, but that's a thing that I'm glad you're bringing awareness to, because there's a reason why drinking is pushed to a certain age, you know, because there's developmental issues that go along with it. You know, you're not gonna be able to grow properly if you drink too much, because you're not going to be able to, you know, do the things a kid should do. You shouldn't be getting drunk in middle school, high school, you know? Right. So definitely I appreciate all the work you're doing. And it starts with the kids, you know, because they're the future. It's good to change the people that are older, yeah, but the kids are where it matters, because, again, like I said, those are the people that are going to push us forward, and they're going to carry on the legacy that we left.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
And a lot of times they cope with alcohol and other, you know, substances with what they're going through emotionally.
Right,
exactly.
So at a young age, I think that a lot of times, if you're already coping with something at such a young age, imagine what it's going to get to later in an adult life if you don't receive the services that you need. Mental health services that, you know, later in life, I think it's harder to accept that you have these issues. So allowing these children to have, you know, an opportunity to look for different ways to channel these emotions. Like, you know, we were talking about the Photovoice project that you did. Tell us a little bit about that, about your passion for photography and how you were able to bring that to the kids, because they loved it and it was an awesome event.
And that's like, for example, for me, I know that there's when you look at ways to reach youth, we all have our different skills and wheelhouses that we bring to the task. And photography's always been, I mean, ever since 7th grade at Abbott Middle School, I fell in love with photography and still do it to this day. I was just out shooting today. So I wanted, how do I leverage that? And then I came across this thing called a Photovoice, which is an international organization that tries to give a voice to the youth through the creative arts, like particularly photography. And they allow every local community to kind of do it their style and what fits them. And so a couple of years ago, we did our very first Photovoice, and I got the kids that I got involved in it. I basically said, listen, we need to take a photograph of something that either helps you make positive decision or something that doesn't help you make a positive decision. And so there was like 9 of them. We got together. I did the whole photography thing, and, you know, composition angle, all the other stuff you kind of need to make a good photograph. And we printed them, we mounted them. We got free space here at the Elgin Art Space, so there was a little gallery. We had a reception night. Thank you for all your help. That was wonderful. And that was a way. Not every kid's articulate. Not every kid even wants to be out there and tell you how they feel. But some of them, they tap into either painting or sculpture or photography, and they can really express themselves, and they can scream there, and you wouldn't even know it unless you're picking it up. So that gave them an opportunity to kind of, in a more subtle way, kind of let people know how they felt. So every photograph had a little narrative. So you got to actually read what was behind them and the photograph and why they shot it. And so it really turned out weird. So this year we're doing it again. This year we're going to do not only substance use, but we're going to tie it into gambling, because teenage gambling is a big problem. And just like you said,
Wow.
And just like you said, and it starts in subtle forms, right? You know, even sometimes when you're playing Fortnite, you're trying to exchange, you know, get better armor, get better equipment, whatever it is, you know, and some of that stuff takes money.
Oh man, I could go off.
Right,
about that.
right.
That's gambling. The government's, like, several governments around the world are looking into that, like loot boxes and things of that nature, because it's actually gambling for kids. You know?
Absolutely.
Because kids are paying money to, like, hopefully I get a skin on this box. You
Exactly.
know, they're gambling for the chance to get that. So, like, oh man, they're getting them young. They're getting them really young. And I've even when I was younger, I got caught into that. Like, I remember being like, oh, what? I can get this for this price. And then started getting older, I was like, it's kind of like gambling. You know what I mean? Because, like, if you think about a slot machine, you're putting it in hoping you get these certain numbers. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with loot boxes. You're hoping you get a certain item.
And just like you said, I mean, it's important to know that principle that you articulated earlier about when you're young, impressionable, and your brain is still developing, it's those kind of that kind of risk reward things that go on in your head tend to ensconce themselves when you're older. And so when you drink at 13, 14, or 15 or whatever, it's exponentially more likely you're going to have a problem as an adult.
Yep.
Same thing with smoking, same thing with anything really, because you're already prone to risk taking. It's just the way you're wired as a kid, right? As a teen, because you're experiencing independence, and we want we want kids to do that, but we want them to take risks that are a little bit more calculated and hopefully not have such a profound and negative effect on their lives as adults.
Yeah, like you should be able to take risks where they have guidance through it.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're like, if you fail, it's not like you said a detrimental thing to your life. It's more like, okay, you fell,
right?
But like, let's learn from the fall.
Right.
So
we don't want the life sentences that some of the drugs get you.
Exactly. Like get.
So what was Gil like as a kid?
Well,
what
it's
did
a family
you
show.
relate to?
No,
I said it wasn't therapy, but hey.
To be honest with you, I was a bit of a pill, hard to handle in many ways. I never really got into a lot of fights because mostly I was a bully. Unfortunately, I hate to admit that I was, and then really I had so many detentions in middle school, staying after class, but then I got to liking this one girl at Abbott, and I realized, now how am I going to walk her home? And do my thing. If I'm stuck in school. So I literally, she never really realized that until we became adults. It was that was the motivation for me to actually straighten up. And so I started getting a little bit better grades. And of course I'm married to her now. So we've been married ever since. So it was a long time. But I really, 8th grade, I'll be honest, again, it's not something I'm really proud of, but 8th grade probably was my grade where I experimented the most with pot. It was just like, and I never smoked cigarettes. I've never been drunk, even up to as old as I am now. I've never been drunk, so liquor never really did it. But somehow 8th grade and pot was something that just clicked with me. And thank God that I really got into photography in 7th and 8th grade. And I realized, I'd rather have my head straight on this because this could be a career changer for me. This could be something I might want to do. And I always wanted to be a photojournalist, the Courier News. I always wanted to be a photographer for the Courier News. And then I set myself higher, maybe Life Magazine, maybe National Geographic, I don't know. But I knew that there was a chance of going places, and being high was not going to get me there. So.
And maybe you didn't become that photojournalist, but here you are, using that skill, that passion to help these children share their voice, share what they're feeling emotionally. And I remember seeing these kids that had their picture up walking to the gallery with their family, and they're like, come over here, this is my picture, And I was like, wow, this is so wonderful, because a lot of times I think, we bring up culture in this podcast. A lot of times in our families, we don't tend to feel like you want to expose what you've done, more like it almost feels like you're bragging about the work you're doing. But I thought that day was so beautiful because these kids were so proud of what they had done. And so there you go, you use your passion for such a wonderful thing, and I'm glad you guys are doing it again this year for sure.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. We this year we'll have classes and it'll be more structured. It's going to be fantastic. We're actually partnering with the Illinois Association for Behavioral Health, and so with partnering with them has really given us a more structured approach to it. So we're really looking forward to it. I love the creativity, but you're absolutely right. If I had another skill, I'm sure I would leverage that.
Yeah.
But photography, I know that, and it's just and I'm still passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I got into it, like I said, in 7th grade. My gym teacher noticed that I liked going around with the little Kodak Instamatic camera back in the days. And he goes, hey, you like photography? I go, yes. He goes, I'll show you how to develop film.
Wow.
And he literally hands me his Canon FTB, which at that time, that camera was $400 or $500. He goes, take this home for a weekend, take pictures, and I'll show you how to develop the film.
Wow.
That little interest that teacher took in me, and this was my gym teacher, right? This wasn't even my art teacher. I came back, he showed me how to do it, and I was hooked. I was hooked after that. I go, this is crazy. The film, and there's a negative, and then to see that image come up on the paper, that's crazy. It's like magic. It was like magic. It's white, and all of a sudden it starts showing up. I just fell in love with it, and never turned back.
Little did he know that gym teacher that they taught you was gonna now be a domino effect to help these children.
That's true.
How crazy, you know? How
Yeah,
crazy how life works.
That is so true.
Yeah.
That's what they always say, do something with kindness, because you never know who you're going to affect.
Indeed,
Yeah.
right?
It's like, if you help one person, who knows what that person helps, and then that person helps, and it's just
Yeah.
a snowball effect. So
You're
you
absolutely
always
right.
got to treat everybody with the same respect and kindness, I think.
Right,
Unless shown otherwise, I don't
Yeah.
advocate for getting stepped on.
Yeah, right. And with nothing expected in return, right?
Exactly.
You're showing that kindness.
You're showing
just
that kindness
because-
out of the fact that you want to show
Yeah, you
kindness.
pay it
know?
forward. That's
Yeah.
it. You're not looking for
Anything,
And I'm sure you see yourself in all these 8th graders too, you know. When you when we were holding the Club Light events, you know, I saw myself in these kids, and I was like, wow, like this is so awesome. Like I wish someone had done this when I was younger, you know, because dance is another thing that, you know, helps people, you know, be expressive, and it's like dance is therapy. So all these forms of art are wonderful, and I'm really glad that you're able to expose these children to these things.
Well-
So, what is one of your, I would say, personal goals for this coalition or your personal life? Like, what do you see yourself doing more with this coalition and the youth?
You know, that's a really good question, and I do appreciate that. I think probably our greatest goal right now for the coalition, now that we've had 5 years funded at least, refunded for another 5 years, I would really like the coalition to be more of a household name among the teens and the parents. I think in 2015 we changed our name and all that, and a lot of people still don't know who we are and what we do. And the truth of the matter is, I may be here, and you're talking about the work that I'm doing. It says, listen, don't get that twisted, right? It is not me at all. The coalition has got about 22 people, all in there's 12 sectors of the community. And we got healthcare, law enforcement, media, parents, school, youth serving. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them, and all of them bring their expertise to the table as we discuss these issues and how to best address them. So, as a coordinator, I'm coordinating it, but I that's not my expertise. So I let them do their job, and I try to coordinate it and make it happen.
I saw it on your website, actually. I was looking on your website before we even started recording, just to kind of get a little bit of an understanding of the coalition a bit. And I love the fact that you had a whole kind of segment that gave tips, like via drugs, like you had meth, cocaine, like very specific, and then I like the information that it had on each flyer, as well as the fact that you had these drug take-back locations promoted, and like just showing kids and people that there's another path. That's what I really appreciate. And then also the volunteering, that was super cool. Like I like your play on words. I like your play on words. You guys are cool. But I like the fact that you're trying to get kids to volunteer early, because like we were saying, you do the kindness out of the fact that it's kind, and the reward is seeing somebody else thrive from it, So it's good, I think, to get teens involved in that early so they can feel that, because that's a strong emotion. I remember helping people and being like, this is nice. Like,
right. I mean, you're outside yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
you're no longer inwardly focused when you volunteer. You're looking for something outside of yourself, and that
Exactly.
always helps you get more stabilized and in many ways centered, because that's what's really kind of important when you realize it. And
also lets you grow, which is, I think, another
absolutely.
a very important
Good
thing.
point.
Like, it's always about growth. I always push that, like, every day, even if it's something like small, like you learn how to tie your shoes a better way. Like, growth is always good.
Life hacks by AJ.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Instead of knotting it, maybe just throw it together and catch it.
Right. I
Who knows?
totally agree with you.
Well, like, I really think that it's a great thing that the coalition is doing, allowing teens to get involved, and it's really easy. Your website too, the website too for the coalition is really like simple. It's really set up. Super user friendly for anybody who doesn't even know probably how to use technology. It says everything on there, and and then I was reading about the Club Light as well. I was like, wow, it's sad that it's popping off right now.
No, we were going to redesign that, but Club Light is clearly our single most popular event. I mean,
we had kids lined out the door. We felt horrible. We
Hundreds.
had reached capacity. We're like, we're not taking any more.
Every time
Yes.
we did that event, it was capacity.
That's awesome.
Every time we literally had to turn kids away. Every single one
they
of them.
just wanted a
Which
place
hurts.
to have fun and dance.
Right,
and
just
for
have a
us,
good
it
time.
was, for us it was really important that they were in a safe place and they were being dropped off by their parents, and that they're allowed to have fun. So Actually, when you talk about the volunteering, we were saying at our mental wellness conversation yesterday about loneliness and how it's affecting mainly the Gen Z generation.
Right.
And loneliness, brings on a mental illness and suicide behavior. And one of the tips that we gave was being compassionate towards others helps us with our mental health. And so I love that, the volunteering, like getting kids out of the comfort zone, getting them to, I think you also create a state of empathy in them that they might not, usually cultivate. So that is awesome. I hadn't heard that word, but that is.
I thought it was clever when I had witnessed it. I was scrolling through and I said volunteer, and I was like,
yeah, it's just a list of opportunities for teens that want to volunteer in the community. Not just for us, but for all kinds of
in
places.
general. And then I saw that you had the people who are part of the coalition as well. Like,
the members.
The police station, fire department. All
we got police station. Yeah, we got. I mean, these are key stakeholders in our community, and we just can't do what we need to do without them.
Yeah.
We just can't.
In a way, like that's what we want to do with Poiema in a sense, like have those resources available, and like allow like the whole take back drug location like that. And of course, we do more mental health advocacy and dealing with depression and anxiety and things of that nature. So we want to have those resources soon. So honestly, it's a great motivation and a great inspiration to see the coalition website and be like, wow, this is great. We need more places like this, and it's super easy to access. So you can, like I said, all you have to do is get on the website. It's Coalition for a Safe and Healthy Elgin, correct?
Yeah, Coalition for a Safe and Healthy Elgin. Even it's so long.
It's a really long name.
CSHE, but it's the Coalition for Safe and Healthy Elgin is the name.
All right.
I remember when you gave me the opportunity to volunteer, because I say you gave me the opportunity. It helped me grow. It helped me. It was at a time in my life where I had just started bringing this awareness with suicide, and so having this opportunity helped me grow for sure. So it was I think it's a wonderful gift that you also are giving other parents and other people in the community to see that need that they may not usually, have. So I really applaud you for your work and your passion working with the youth. What's been your biggest challenge? I know COVID brought a lot of challenges for everyone, but what is the biggest challenge for your coalition now?
I think our greatest challenge is really connecting with the parents. Parents are a difficult breed. I mean, in Elgin, obviously they're the warp and woof, right? They're the reason that we exist, because we're trying to change not just the community at large, but we're trying to change a lot of the parental attitudes. Well, there's like four core measures we look at that'll kind of determine whether or not a kid's more likely to use drugs or not. And one of them is parental disapproval. The question is, if your parents knew you were doing this, would they approve or disapprove? And so we keep our eyes closely on that metric, because as parents begin to approve of things, obviously the kids, they perceive the risk less, and so they would tend to do it. Which is why alcohol across the nation is the number one problem, including here in Elgin. Alcohol is really accepted by a lot of adults. Every house has a beer or whatever,
Being Hispanic, it's
right?
beer, even when you're a little kid,
exactly.
Take a little sip or so.
Dude, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because culturally,
culturally, you want it when you're an adult.
That's what we talk about a lot too, is stigma, especially culturally, it comes hand in hand with a lot of things that we deal with in this nation that we're struggling with, because it's not accepted, or it's not it's not talked about enough, and it's not some things should be stigmatized. We like to destigmatize things, but alcohol should be stigmatized, where it's not something that a youth should have in hand, because even people old enough to drink it are not responsible with it. So it makes so there's no way that a child could be responsible.
Right. Especially when they, an adult might look at it as a rite of passage, it just becomes problematic, and they don't realize really what a problem that could be. But we those are one of the things that we look at, and if we could get that message not only to parents but community leaders, if kids are seeing that our Elgin just loves marijuana and wants to extol its virtues, and again, that's all about the adults, but the kids, if they see that, then they're more likely to do it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that with, I think at that age when you don't have control over what you're doing, that's the risky part, because then that leads into risky behavior. So again, we are just here to, to speak about youth and like the opportunities that they have, because like if they're smoking and they're doing drugs, or they're, they could be doing other things like overeating, like, coping
Yeah.
with food. That's a huge thing right now too. I think what you're doing through the coalition is giving them those vessels, those positive vessels, those positive activities to deal with those emotions. I think that's the best thing, because they're gonna find drugs and alcohol and all these things everywhere. It's showing them what are the positive things that they can go and do.
Yeah.
So I think, again, you're doing such wonderful work, and I think you're so inspirational. You say it's not just you, but you are the mastermind of that coalition. I've seen you are.
You heard it here first, guys. Gil's the head honcho.
Yeah, no, he's like on
better than everybody else. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I think that people really feed off of your passion, and that's why they come and support you. So, again, thank you, Gil. We've been asking all our guests, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Wow, I guess now, of course, that I'm definitely a lot older than the younger self. I would probably say cherish and protect hope more.
Okay.
I think as an adult,
That's good advice.
I really see now and appreciate how important that is, as someone who personally has lost it many times, and how that the destructive nature of when a human being no longer has hope in something, whatever it might be.
Totally.
All the stuff that happens as a result of that, and how you view yourself, and things that you do, and how you think. I mean, it just affects it. So I think I would say, hey, you know what? Apriésalo. Just hold that precious.
Yeah.
Because that's not everybody has that, and that when you lose hope, things go sideways real quick. So.
Well, you're a hope in Elgin. You bring hope to the youth. I really hope to be able to, maybe support you more in the coalition now that we have Poiema Studio here in Elgin. We really look forward to seeing the work that you're going to continue doing, at least for the next 5 years, and rooting that you move forward, past those 5 years. And you're already doing a lot and creating an impact. So.
Well, thank you. And whatever we could do to help you guys,
Thank you.
we're all about, we want to collaborate. So
Yeah.
I mean, we're excited to collaborate with everybody as well, especially the coalition, because again, we're focused on the youth, and that's where we need to hit first. But again, I think parents, like we were saying, before we ended it, I wanted to really talk about that. Yes, we really need to teach parents, because we can instill these things into the kids we meet. But if they go back home and learn something else, and their parents do the opposite, like there's no way that's gonna sit in, that's gonna settle, because of course, I mean, most children, I'm pretty sure you look up to your parents, you assume what they say is fact. I mean, that's how I took it. Everything my father told me, I saw as fact, like nothing else, because as a child, you don't think that your parents don't know anything. You assume that they have your best interest, and they do. But that doesn't take away from the fact that they might not be knowledgeable.
Right. And we want to encourage parents.
Exactly.
Because the truth of the matter is, if they just talk, those kids, they do listen. They do listen.
They listen a lot.
And I don't want to leave without saying that statistically, a majority of the kids are not on drugs or using alcohol here in Elgin. So we want to stay positive with that message as well. We just want to make sure that those numbers don't go up.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're showing them coping techniques, because that's what's really vital.
Yes, indeed.
Especially for children, is just like, how do I express? Especially in this day and age where we're being fed so much information at once with social media and so many emotions, that it's harder to control. Because I'm not, again, it's not taking away from anything that happened in the past, but in the past, your social interactions were kind of limited more so, and here it's oversaturation of that. So you're constantly intaking things, and kids don't know how to release that energy or how to intake it properly.
Or how to filter it.
Yeah, how to filter it, exactly.
Right.
So then, of course, it leads into let me numb it. Let me not think
Let
anymore.
me filter it.
Yeah, let me filter it. And then, of course, drugs are a lot easier to get, and alcohol too. Like we were saying, a lot of parents and a lot of older people are like, oh yeah, you sure, Timmy? You got $5? Or you give me some change? Let me get you a case of beers, and then you know what I mean? Or again, I was a youth as well in my time, but when I was 17, I looked old enough to where I'd grow a beard, and then I'd walk in and try to get some beers, and it's that easy, for kids. So, but if you give them the techniques in advance and you show them that there's better ways prior to them even getting a taste of this,
Prevention.
It's prevention. It's because then they don't need to look for anything else, because they realize that there's better techniques within themselves and outside.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
You nailed it. Nail on the head.
Education is the best prevention, so
Yes.
the fact that you're out there spreading the word, bringing awareness, I think you're doing the right job.
Knowledge
Thank
is
you.
power.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yes.
Knowledge is power.
So again, thank you to everyone that chimed in tonight with us here at the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel,
To
leave
like
us a
it.
comment, share it, with someone out there that, needs to learn more about the coalition, what Gil is doing.
Needs to learn
Maybe
more about
we'll-
Gil.
Yeah, maybe we'll inspire
The
someone
mastermind.
The mastermind.
out there, hoping to get a coalition in their community. You never know.
And then, of course,
So-
reach out to Gil's coalition, and then to us if you
Please.
need to. Please. There's always resources out there. Just know that, and we are more than willing to help. That's what this is all about. So I hope you all have a good night. I hope you
Thank you,
enjoyed,
yes.
and thank you so much, Gil. Again, it was an honor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And thank you for having me. Okay, appreciate it.
It's an awesome time. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Good night, everyone.
There is one vital fact I would like to submit.
Can I ring your bell?
Yeah. Alright, Gil. I'll get you to read this back.
3, 2,
Alright,
1. Sorry.
Can we read this?
Sorry. Sorry. Right off the donut.
I was almost attacked. I was almost assault.
All right, just a little a peaceful ring.